to the Sotto La Curva Serie A podcast.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're taking the time to listen. Today on the show, we're breaking down a massive week of Italian football. I just want to pre-position. There are some audio issues during this recording, so be patient and thank you if you continue to listen. We begin in the capital, where Roma's top four hopes took a hit after a frustrating toothless performance in Udine. From there, we'll head to Como and discuss Atalanta's great escape, a match which saw them go down to 10 men early on to be saved by a miracle penalty stop at the end. Then it's over to Juventus, who looked unstoppable in their four-goal rout of Parma. We'll also analyze Napoli's gritty win over Fiorentina and whether Antonio Conte can turn European heartbreak into Scudetto fuel, before wrapping up with the league action with Inter, who continue to look untouchable at the top. Finally, we'll shift gears to the Champions League and break down a spicy playoff draw for Italian teams. So let's get into it, and let's start with Joe's little rant on Roma.
I'm seeing positives with Gasperini, for sure. I think we're more organized than we were at the back. I think there's certain positions that he really gets the most out of, certain positions on the field. Kind of like he did with Atalanta. It was those secunda punti, right? There was always, whether it was Ilicic or Pasalic or, Muriel playing behind Zapata. There's certain positions that he gets the most out of. I find with Roma, it's in the middle of the field. It's gli esterni. Wesley's look great. I just don't understand how, again, we can lose a game without scoring. Like, Roma has traditionally been a high-scoring team. Gasperini has traditionally been an offensive manager. Somehow, some way, you put them together and you have like Catenaccio. If it's not 1-0, we lose.
0.74 XG today.
How much?
0.74.
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They didn't create anything. They almost got bailed out by a Mancini goal, like at the last second. He had a great chance, and Okoye stoned him, robbed him at the bottom right post. But I mean, they never looked that threatening. You know what I mean? They never looked like they were gonna take the game by the scruff and just do what good teams do, is go out and win the game. Now, Udinese wasn't, okay. Roma had 0.74 XG. I think I brought it up now, and Udinese has 0.5, right? So
yeah,
it wasn't a barn burner by any stretch, but big chances, 0. 10 total shots. They just never did anything of note, and you look at the lineup. They had Malin, Sule. Okay, Pellegrini could have maybe been Dybala. That would be like our optimal lineup probably right now. But we weren't far from an optimal lineup, and this is a game Roma should be winning. Should be scoring a goal, or at least 2. I'm not seeing the Gasperini style of play shine through, and you look at the way Juve is going, and relatively quickly, with no mercato, Spalletti was able to get stuff going. He was able to imprint his system of play. Now, it could be circumstance, right? It could be, quality of player. Could be that the players Spalletti found were already more suited than the players that Gasperini found. But Gasperini is a project, and it's very early to raise any sort of alarm flag. Champions League was always the goal, and we're hovering right around there. But we gotta start seeing some goals, man. Like,
Most of their chances. I was gonna say most of their chances came at the end of the match. Like, I didn't have we were working it today on a Monday, so I didn't really have just watch the highlights. But most of the highlights, again, from the game were mostly Udinese, and even the Roma chances were all at the end of the match, right? So.
But even then, it didn't seem like there was much urgency, like for the entire second half. They had a deflected shot from Malin that went wide by a bit. Then they had that header. They had a disallowed goal that was offside by quite a bit. But apart from that, that's 3 chances. Not much else. Like, and I feel like every week so far since we started this podcast, we come on and we say, out of the three teams, Napoli, Juve, and Roma, they each have an off week, and then a good week, and then an off week, and then a good week, and you don't know who's gonna reach that top four. They're so inconsistent.
Yeah. Nobody's willing to, apart from Inter, nobody's really just cruising at terminal velocity. It's all up and down. Just last week I was saying, oh guys, you know what? My hot take was maybe could Napoli miss out on Champions League? Boop.
Mm.
They leapfrog Juve and Roma. You know what I mean? All of a
Yeah, in
sudden
1
Roma's
week.
in yeah, it's just there's no, you look at the form table and it's green, gray, red, green, gray, red. Big teams, or
Crazy.
supposedly big teams dropping points. Yeah, it's exciting for the neutral, but it's hard to get a read on.
Yeah,
It'd be exciting.
a big positive for Udinese. They're tied with Lazio on points in at 8th place. Well, they're 9th, but tied for 8th. That's pretty impressive considering they struggled a lot of last year. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. I think they've played very few games with Atta and Zaniolo both healthy, and now Davis went down injured.
Yeah, that's gonna
But
hurt because I don't think there's much.
it
Davis is
seems
really
like
a focal point for that offense.
yeah, it seems like Runjaic, however you pronounce it, the coach, he finds a way to make things work this year with them. Whether that's playing players in new positions. I think Atta played like 3 different positions so far this year. I'm sure maybe he'll put Zaniolo as a center forward with Atta behind him. They're both big, like they're technical players, but they're both relatively physical as well. They're interesting. They're one of those teams this year that you don't know what you're gonna get. They beat Inter at home. They beat Roma now. You don't know what you're gonna get with them. Dangerous team.
Yeah, dark horse, definitely.
I think Roma really missed a chance to, with the Como draw, the Atalanta draw, like just get that security blanket to, try to crack Europe. I don't see them. They put together a few games where it looks like Malin comes in, he looks like he's gonna explode. He looks like he's gonna score some goals, but again, it's the same thing. And I think we talked about that last week also. Just the same exact thing. It's just they're not scoring because they're not playing bad. They're creating chances, but they're just not scoring. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and they're putting. We'll get to transfers later probably. They're putting a good offensive team together on paper, right? There's some exciting names there, but Gasperini needs to recapture some of that offensive magic he had at Atalanta. If this team was scoring even just in the average of goals, right? I mean, Roma has 27 goals for and 14 against. To put you guys in context, the teams immediately above and below Roma have respectively 39 and 37 goals. So Roma's a full 10 under Juve and Como, and Juve had a manager change. So there's just
is
no
just
goals.
But Svilar is the reason for that too. Why, they're not getting goals, but he's saving them a lot as well. I have to say they were probably unlucky in this match overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the goal, it was a deflection off of Allen and perfectly into the corner. Other than that, it's not like Udinese created so many chances that because they're playing solid defensively. Mancini's having an amazing season as well. So again, defensively they're solid.
It was a free kick, right?
Yeah, it was a free kick, huge deflection off the wall. But you see, the thing is, you create your own luck. And I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, it is what it is. But that's 2 games now in short succession in a row where we're saying, oh, Roma a bit unlucky against Milan and now against Udinese. But if you go out, you score 2 goals, you don't deal with luck anymore, right? If we would have put a goal in against Milan early, the way we probably should have, if we were a bit more clinical, we wouldn't be talking about luck. Right? Same thing today. If we would have gone out and taken the game to an inferior team, as we should have, we wouldn't be talking about luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Joe, I had a question. El Ainoui, he was great at the African Cup of Nations. When he signed, there was a lot of hype around him. He seemed like he'd be the perfect partner for Manu Kone. Now Manu Kone is out injured. He took his place. I find he's not really clicking with the team. But today he had a bit more of a solid game, I would say. What do you think of him as a fan?
I like El Nui. I think he brings something different than a lot of our midfielders, especially the guys who play, like in the middle of the pitch. If you compare him to the profile of, let's say, a Pellegrini or a Kone or a Cristante, he's almost more of a traditional Gasperini mezzala. You know what I mean? So I was really super excited to see what he would do with someone who can put him in a spot to succeed. I think it's been a consistency thing. I think he didn't gel early, then he took off. Now he came back. I think he'll have a good second half of the season. I think we're creating a bit of a logjam in that area of the field as well. Like ideally, you would either want him beside Kone or right behind the Punta. And now they brought in Zaragoza. El Noui's back from there. El Sharawi, there was rumors he was leaving. He didn't. So I think he's going to have a better second half of the season with Roma. I just think he needs a solid partner. I'd be really afraid of a midfield composed of El Nui and Cristante. I think we would just get bulldozed in the middle of the field. So I think he would make a great pairing with Kone. Without Kone, I don't know if he's going to be able to A, show his best, or B, stay on the field. I mean, if Gasperini, maybe against smaller teams, I would risk Cristante Alanui, where you're pretty sure you'll boss the midfield either way. Anytime we're going to be in a tight game, I would not trot out Elainui and Cristante as your double pivot in midfield. That's just me.
Not many options right now though with Kone injured.
Yeah. And Badans is gone. He could have been interesting too. Pizzilli looks promising, but it's a really soft midfield right now without Manu Kone. He's the only one who brought any muscle to that midfield, and I think we're gonna miss him.
And let's maybe segue straight to that Como Atalanta game. Just because of how close Como is to Roma and how close they are to cracking that top four. And they could have made a big jump, but they lost, which was crazy. And I heard a stat this morning that they lost in Europe. They lost with the biggest XG ever. Basically lose or tie. Sorry, they didn't lose, they tied. But it was the biggest XG that they've had in all teams in Europe, like versus any other team, which is insane. The game was ruined. We previewed it last week, and we said this is going to be one of those games, maybe even a goal fest or a very exciting game. It ended up being a very exciting game. Not gonna lie, but I think it was ruined by a red card in the 7th minute. Como were great. They had so many chances, but Carnesecchi was man of the match. He got man of the match, and he deserved man of the match because he made incredible saves and kept Atalanta in the game. Atalanta also being a man down were able to create some chances, which was nice to see. That's why I said they still made it exciting. It's not like they sat back. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I'll let you go, Rem. I feel like
You ranted with Roma.
I'm catching my breath here.
So it was a very entertaining game. Honestly, it was a nail biter. I think Ahanor suffered a bit from his age and his immaturity. He was baited into that reaction. It sucks for him, but I'm sure he'll come back stronger. It was a little soft because it was Perone, right? Went down.
Yeah.
Seemed like he got shot, even though he pushed right back. And
drama.
he was the one that went and go hunt him down. Anyways, I hate when that happens personally. But it was a red card in the end for the violent conduct because you're not supposed to react. But 17 years old, we could forgive him. Atalanta, hats off to Palladino because that game management was exceptional. He took off Scamacca, put on Sulemana, give a bit more of a quick counterattack style rather than Scamacca, who really had difficulty getting the ball once they went down to 10 men and looked very disconnected from the rest of the team. I think Palladino saw that and made the right change. Atalanta proved once again that they're a serious team. Even with everything that happened with Juric at the beginning of the season, they looked good defensively, solid. And Karnaseki, what more can we say, man? Like he's right now he's top 3 in the league. I think after Magnan and Zvilar. He's just unlucky that Donnarumma is ahead of him in the national team, because this guy, this year in particular, he made a huge leap in quality.
Yeah.
I think he's an exceptional goalie. He's very much in the style of a Buffon. Like he's not. Donnarumma's a tall goalie. Karnaseki is a bit more of an average height for a goalie, but he's always in a great position. He has safe hands. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
his rebounds aren't crazy. He's a very good goalie. And it sucks a little for Paz to miss that penalty shot, although I'm happy for Fanta culture reasons.
I
It
don't
was
know what it
heartbreaking
is.
to see him cry, though. It was heartbreaking.
It's becoming almost like a thing for him, Like I think this
Not
is
a
the
penalty
third
shot
penalty. Yeah, it's the third penalty he
Third
missed this
missed.
year.
Wow.
And
What
now
a
the thing
stat.
is, yeah, and now the thing is, if you put yourself in Fabregas's place, he came out and he said the right things in the press. But now, the real question is going to be the next time a penalty comes up, do they go with Paz again?
No, at this point, I'm sorry. You gotta move past it. He had a couple of chances to prove himself.
Yeah.
His confidence shouldn't be destroyed. He's still their star player. He's still leading in every stat for them. It's just he's not a penalty shot taker. Some players have it, some don't. It's
So
And
just
he
let it
stepped
go
up.
at this point.
Yeah,
exactly.
he
He
stepped up
wanted it.
confidently. Like,
Yeah, he did.
for someone who missed the last two, he didn't seem. Sometimes you watch a guy
was a
set up for a
bad penalty,
penalty.
though.
It was a horrible penalty. But he, like, in the lead up to taking the penalty, sometimes like you'll watch a game and the guy's setting up and you're like, no, this guy's gonna miss. Like this, he's not. You can tell that either the nerves are getting to him or they zoom in on the face sometimes and you see the eyes darting.
Genoa.
Yeah, exactly.
With Genoa.
He gave no he was already practicing his oh shit face. You know what I mean? But Paz stepped up, cool as a cucumber, and just shot the bed. Like, what a horrible penalty.
It was obvious too. Like he opened his body, you knew he was going to that corner. Like he usually if you open your body like that, it's to trick the goalie. You go the opposite, like you cut across. But he just went the side that looked like he was. It looked like he was going to that side. His body language was that side, and he just and not even a hard shot, just tapped it on the ground.
Yeah, it was telegraphed, right? Like I coached for a long time, and for a while I was coaching goalies, and it's the left. If it's a right-footed shooter, you're looking at the left foot, and you're looking at the belly button. And if you're not going to shoot hard, you need to disguise at least one of those two things, right? Your waist or your foot. He shot soft, and he disguised nothing. So yeah.
Mike, as the owner of Paz in our Fanta Cultural League, how do you feel?
When he walked up to it, I think like Joe said, he had confidence, but when they showed the stat that he missed his last two and where he missed, I had no confidence after that, to be honest. But I found the XG, by the way, and sorry, before I had some technical issues with my mic, so if it sounded really horrible, I'm very sorry for all the listeners out there. I think I just fixed it. So the XG was 5.24, and it was the highest XG without a win, basically. So either a tie or loss. So in all of European football. So they had their chances. But again, I think you spoke about Atalanta going and still taking it to Como, and they countered very well. They had their chances. Again, they weren't the best chances in the world, but they had their chances, and I'm just happy they didn't sit back and just absorb pressure, especially it being the 7th minute of play or the 8th minute. Anyways,
yeah, they could have turned it into a horrible game for the neutral, but they didn't.
They didn't.
No, a very good game by Scalvini too. I just want to mention that because he went through some injuries, and it's very promising if he's playing that well.
And
Sorry,
you No, you touched on Palladino before, Rem. Like I was at least quick to criticize him for his decisions in the Champions League, of being slow to react and then making the wrong decision. This week, he showed growth. He instantly reacted. He switched up, the way the team was laid out on the field to absorb a bit more pressure, created outlets for his deeper players. I think he showed, already in a short span, a lot of growth, to go out and get what's a great result at this point, right? Once you go down to 10 men. And I think that was at the Senegalia, right?
Yeah, it was in Como, yeah.
To leave with a point from a game where you played in 10, 80 minutes
versus
against
a
a
direct
good
rival
team
in points
on
also.
the road. Yeah, I mean,
they're going to be fighting with them
props to
for
Palladino. Yeah,
for a European spot, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about Juventus. Juventus, where they dominated Parma. I don't know if I think you mentioned it, Joe. I don't know if like Juve looked amazing or Parma looked horrible away from home. But Bremer, unlikely hero, scored a brace.
Yes.
And Weston McKennie, Jonathan David also being very very hot currently. The two North Americans, and horrible own goal from Cambiaso. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was
yeah, I don't know what that was.
abysmal to see. But overall, we touched upon it a bit, but Spalletti has Juve playing like a team. They look like they're having fun together. They look like they're enjoying each other's company. They're celebrating goals together. They're posing. They're doing whatever they want to do. To me, like again, I'm not a Juve supporter, but when you see teams like that, when you see teams
That
set
enjoy
up
playing together.
that love playing together or having a great time, and I always think back to when Italy won the Euro. We didn't have the best team, but they were just a good group of guys that wanted to win for each other or wanted to play for each other. Again, this Juve team, they have that synergy. Spalletti has them organized. Are they a team that can go win the Scudetto? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, they're playing very well. Joe, what do you think of Juve's performance?
Yeah, I think, are they a team that can go in the Scudetto? Probably not this year, but it's, the foundation is a lot more solid than we had initially thought, right? Early on this year, it seemed like they were maybe a full year or two away from being able to challenge for the Scudetto. Spalletti has showed us that they're not as far as we thought. A couple of good transfers, and they tried hard to get it forward to the last minute. And this team could look really dangerous next year. I don't know if the conversations have started. Spalletti's on a several month contract. I think that needs to be priority one for whoever's calling the shots at Juve. I think you need to signal continuity and go out and tie this guy up for at least 3 years. Let the players know that he's in charge and he's who's going to be in charge. Yeah, I think that's a team that's really on the way up, which bodes well. I mean, Italy always does well when Juve does well. As much as I don't necessarily like Juve, it's good to see good teams play. So
Yeah,
is
my
that
only
the
concern with Juve, I was speaking to a Juve fan, a very big Juve fan, Carmelo from Evangelista, and we were talking about how the team's gelling, but it seems like there's one player in particular who's not gelling, who's lagging behind, and that's Cambiaso. And it's strange because he should be one of their pillars, right? He's an extremely talented player. He was so good for so long. Um, but it seems like the whole team's getting better and he's still stuck in, let's call it the Tudor era, where he looks a little lost. He's not being incisive, as he usually should be. If it's not like he's Kelly, he's Cambiaso. He was one of their main outlets. And this own goal this week is kind of a little blow to his already, let's say, weak confidence, because I think he was one of the ones that got booed the most when they went on that little troubling run.
Yes.
It's a shame. Hopefully he bounces back. Not just, well, I mean, hopefully he bounces back for Italy. because he is, at the point that we're talking, a starter for them. But I don't know.
You
It's a
want him
shame
to
that
be?
he's the one. No, right now, no, definitely not. Because
Yeah,
I mean, there's Palestra, but
yeah, that's what I would.
he's an important player. He's a very skillful player. It just seems like a crisis for confidence.
Yeah, it could be. It could be some of that. I feel like I'm a little bit less sold on what his ceiling is than you are, maybe, Rem. I know um, he had a good season or season and a half before moving to Juve, and then I don't know. I never. He's a good player, clearly, but I never thought he was necessarily a top quality player at that position. You know what I mean? I can, and we can play that game, but I don't think it would be too hard for us to sit here and rattle off 5, 10 guys that we would take in that spot in Serie A over Cambiaso. You know what I mean? So
But that's the problem with this Juve is they have some of those players like Kelly, like Cambiaso, that if you had a better player, then maybe you can make a better run. Even like let's call a spade, but McKennie, he's not the best player in the world. He's having a good run of form right
Hey,
now, but
don't
but
diss him.
but at the end of the day, is he an amazing player? Not really, right? Like he's
I,
if
I
you
would argue that.
if you want to argue it, go ahead.
I mean,
Be
I
my
no, I find he's a very good role player. Like he's in a team like Juve, where you have like the skillful players like Yildiz, Conceição, you have Thuram, who's a bit of an engine in the midfield. A guy like McKennie is extremely invaluable. He has an iron lung. He never stops running, and he's very good at inserimenti, like putting himself in the box at the right place at the right time, and at the same time he runs back. He's a very good coach's player. And for a coach like Spalletti, I think that's extremely valuable. He's kind of like a Scott McTominay. You know what I mean? Slightly less skillful because I think McTominay has a higher ceiling, but McKennie is a bit better at getting in the box. I think.
would you like the way I look at it is McKennie. Like if I could replace McKennie right now, I would, right, on the team. That's the way I see it. Is he good at what he's doing right now? Yes. Could Spalletti use him? Absolutely. Is he playing a little bit punching above his weight right now? I think so also. But again, that's my opinion. But if you could look at bringing in other center midfielders or whatever he's playing on. I don't know if he's playing more in the right. Thing is, he played in so many different positions and he's played out of
Yeah,
position. At one point, he was
but
playing
that's
wing
why he's
back.
so important.
Yeah.
yeah, now he's playing behind. He's playing right behind David. I feel like there's so Spalletti is slowly imprinting, I think, an identity on Juve that they fully lost, right?
Yeah,
Between the end of Allegri and then Tudor and then Motta, or I mean the other way around.
Motta then
Uh,
Tudor.
yeah, Motta and Tudor. Like there was so much chopping and changing. There was so many players brought in who were or weren't what they actually needed. I mean, nobody's even. Where's Coop Miners? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even
It's true.
even like where the guy dropped off the face of the earth. Well,
45
Locatelli.
million gone.
Well, what happened to Locatelli? Locatelli with Sassuolo was a monster.
Maybe Koopmeiners should go to Roma. You can go play
You know what?
under
You go refi.
Gasperini.
You know what? It's too late. The Mercato passed. Or else I would pull out the bat phone and call Masara. That's a great shout. That's a kind of player that
Roma
Roma would
needs.
need to replace
Yeah.
that Kone injury, or at least give something there. And he's the sort of player who, right now, the way he was being used by previous managers, just destroys you. There's already no creativity, and these guys just slow the ball down. Right? They have players with grinta, but you can't have 11 of them. We've said it more than once on the show. Yildiz seems like he's the only driving offensive force behind this team. And now he went out at halftime. Juve proceeded to score a valanga of goals against Parma, but I mean, Parma looked like dog water. It's just, I think McKennie is probably somewhere between where you think he is, Rem, and where you think he is, Mike. I think he's a good player. And I mean, he's there by mistake. He's told the story. I forget if it was to the zone. I think it was with Diletta where they sent him out on loan to Leeds. He
Yeah,
came
to
back
Leeds,
and
yeah.
like his locker was emptied. He was practicing with the Giovanili. They didn't let him take his number back, even though nobody on the team had it. Like these guys did not want to see Weston McKennie 2 years ago. Like they tried everything to freeze him out of this team, you know? And he's still there and he's being useful. We're used to seeing players of a higher quality for Juve, right? Like this Locatelli, this McKennie,
Locatelli's playing well,
Cambiasso,
though.
Kelly, like you know.
Lulu.
Yeah.
But McKennie
absolutely.
is a Perotta style player. That's how I would put him. I
What a
find him.
shout,
I find that
Simone
type of
Perotta.
Yeah,
Holy
Simone Perotta
smokes.
but
coming back.
but see, it's the same Spalletti type player. He likes that player who gets into the box. For
Yeah.
me, in a system, he's important. Now, let's say Spalletti wasn't there. Under Tudor, he wasn't doing much. Under Motta, he wasn't doing much. It's very dependent on the system. A
Yeah.
player
System
like
and the
McKennie.
coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like you look at even a guy like McTominay, right? In the system that Napoli played,
At the
they
beginning of the season,
saw his last season too, right? They found his strength, and because of that, he became more valuable than he ever was with Manchester United.
Yeah. And this year we've seen they've
But
switched where he plays
where he
yeah,
wasn't
because of
good.
the injury to
but he's
Anguissa, and he's not horrible, but doesn't
Not
look
the
as good as last year.
but the
no,
De
but he still
Bruyne
has that
injury.
confidence, right?
Yeah.
The De Bruyne injury was where it all clicked because at the beginning of the
Yes,
season he wasn't doing anything because Conte was trying to fit them all on the pitch. That was
yeah.
the issue at the beginning. He was fitting
He was
them all
playing
on the
left
pitch.
wing.
Yeah, I don't know but the second De Bruyne got injured, you slot him back into the role of last year, he starts scoring goals, right? So that's, I guess,
Exactly.
with the point you're
But it's
trying
the
to make
same
for him.
question as McTominay, right? If you find a coach that could take this player and show his value in a system, then that player is invaluable to that system. But if another coach comes in, i.e., McTominay and Manchester United, he's not going to look the same. He's going to look worse. Almost any player in Manchester United, let's be honest. But so for me, McKennie right now, I find him very good for the system that he's in. In any other system, he might not work. But in Spalletti's system, I think he's a very good and very important player.
Yeah.
That's my
Let's
argument.
That's a fair assumption.
I rest my
That's a fair
case.
assumption. That's a fair assumption. Spalletti is definitely getting the most out of him.
Yeah.
let's move on to Napoli. We're talking about McTominay and Antonio Conte's Napoli. They won 2-1 at home. Youngster Vergara scoring a beautiful goal. He has having an awesome week as well. Like if you think about it, from the Champions League and whatnot. But Gutierrez scored as well. They did pull one back, Fiorentina, which I thought maybe they could pull off a draw, but Napoli ended up winning, and Fiorentina's slumber just continues. Joe, what are your thoughts on the Napoli win? Was it convincing, or is it Fiorentina again just this bad team right now?
I think it was definitely both. I mean, I said before, at the end of last week's podcast that there was no excuse for Napoli not to come out and win that game.
Yeah.
And props to them. They came out with a beaten up lineup, but they were playing at home against a team that is, for all intents and purposes, at this point, a relegation level team. And they won. Wasn't always pretty, wasn't always, calcio champagne, but they took 3 points, and that's what good teams do. So props to them. I think it was episode 1, maybe we said, oh, well, Fiorentina just peaked out of the relegation zone. So, that's them out. No.
I did question if that was the Comiso match. I did question, was this only
Yeah.
for Comiso? Yeah, that extra.
It's just not it's not firing. And there's this whole thing with Keane where I was convinced that they would sell him off. For a minute I thought maybe he wasn't getting along with the rest of the team. there's this injury that we don't know too much about, and he's not playing, but then he's running on the field separate, and then he's gonna play, but then he's not gonna play. Then he's on the bench, and he comes in and scores, and then he's benched again. And Piccoli's been doing well enough.
He had a good game.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. In terms of squad management and in terms of just general, tactics and match preparedness, I don't see a guiding hand in all of this, and that's what's sort of worrying. When a team is not doing so, they'll say in almost any sport that slumps and winning streaks, they always come to an end. When you're in a slump and you start to lose games you should have won, your slump's probably coming to an end. And when you're on a winning streak and you start to win games you probably should have lost, your winning streak is coming to an end. The problem for Fiorentina is that they're losing games that they should lose. And so, I don't know. I don't know when they're going to bounce out of, it's, what do you guys think? Am I the only one who's just not seeing consistent improvement here, or am I being too harsh on them?
No, we were very harsh on them last week. And again, we don't have to, like last week, I think they looked worse than versus Napoli. Like they didn't play too bad. Like I said, I saw some hope. They had good spells of possession. I watched this game pretty thoroughly this weekend. And again, if you look at the stats, the shots, the possession, it was a fair match on paper, like stats wise, and they didn't look too bad. Again, there's just something missing. They go down, and I guess when you're a losing team and you continue to lose, it's like, okay, we're gonna lose again. Right? They're down 2-0, or you get a goal scored on. There's no belief that you can come back. But when you're flying high, maybe you're like, okay, we could turn this around. We've been doing it all season, but they're just a team in the void. They're in this black hole right now, and it looks like they're gonna get sucked into relegation. And I hope not. I really hope not, because I don't think any of us want to see Fiorentina down. But there's a big possibility. Now they have a hard string just coming up. It's not just like the games, and nothing's an easy game, like you just mentioned, for Fiorentina right now because of the way they're playing. So they're gonna have to really step it up if they want to, bounce out of that relegation zone. Remo mentioned last week, Cremonese starting to really drop down the table pretty quickly. I think they dropped down a couple of places again this week. So they, there's a couple of teams that are even worse than Fiorentina, but right now, points wise, Fiorentina are not doing too. Remo, I don't know what you think on the matter. I know you said a lot last week, but is there anything that changed in your mind, or you still think that they'll make it out of the relegation zone?
They looked better this week. Now, how much that is due to Napoli being exhausted, I think there was like one sub made by the 85th minute. It was insane. Conte just didn't want to take off his starting 11, and that one sub, unfortunately, is Di Lorenzo injured, which sucks for Napoli. But Fiorentina in that second half looked a lot better. They attacked. The goal was a very nice play. A nice through ball from Dodo to Piccoli. Solomon was there. Scraps. Keane came in and looked pretty good. He had a nice shot.
He looked
but then it all
amazing when he
flat
came in.
again.
Yeah.
But then it all fell flat again. Like it's like they had that little spark and then poof.
He looks like he wants to score, though. He looks like he wants to put the ball in the back of the net.
But that was the issue at the beginning of season 2, where he looked like he wanted to score so much that he didn't make the right plays. And when you force things, especially in sports, it's never going to end well. He was trying to do too much, and I think he's going to continue. He needs a man. This team, Vanoli, he's trying, but he's limited, and I don't think he's what they needed or what they need. The team, like we said last week, is unbalanced. It still looked unbalanced. Pongracic is a mess. Komutso too, not great. Gosens and Dodo are wasted at fullback. They need to play higher up the pitch. They got Brescianini and Fabian. Hopefully they make a difference in the midfield, but then again, it's two attack-minded midfielders.
Rugani might help. Right, they picked up Rugani.
That's a very good signing. That's a very good signing. They need that. But how much could he possibly help? I don't know. it's a shame. Like you said, Mike, I don't want Fiorentina to go down. It's a classic team. I mean, for me, Fiorentina will always be Batigol and Rui Costa and Nuno Gomes in attack. Like that, that's a crazy team.
Yeah.
With the Nintendo jerseys. But I still don't think they go down personally. But it's gonna be a rough end of the year for them, end of the season for them.
Yeah.
They're
These
really
next
gonna
two
have to pull
matches.
out all the stops. Yeah. But they look better this week. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm happy for Vergara he's having a great week. He has a lot of potential, even though I think he's like 24 already, which sucks because it just shows that these kids play. Takes them a couple games, they'll start connecting the dots and get better. And he's only playing a couple games in a row because of injuries. But he looks good. It's fun to watch that. Napoli, it's unfortunate they're out of Champions League. They could focus on the league now, I guess. Hopefully. And maybe do a bit better. Maybe manage
Yeah.
their injuries a little better.
Well, you mentioned Di Lorenzo, and
Yeah.
my first thought for Di Lorenzo is, well, first they said it was an ACL injury when I first saw it. I'm like, he's out for a
Oh,
long
his
time.
knee buckled so badly.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
looked
it was
worse than
really,
it
really
was
bad.
apparently.
Yeah, thank God.
But my first thought was he's not going to play for Italy. And I don't mean to be rude, but I think that's a really good thing.
It's
Personally,
a relief. He doesn't play in the right position for Italy. Yeah,
that's
I
why
agree.
he's a liability for Italy.
In that position,
Again,
yes.
in that position, I don't wish anybody ill. Like, I wasn't celebrating that he got injured, but in the back of my head, I said this could be a great thing for the Italian national team. Maybe to play someone else in that position, someone else that deserves it more, maybe even a younger player. Who knows? But that's for sure my
Salvini.
thought.
Yeah, there should.
It's
Calvini, yes, Calvini
anybody
is
at
a
this point.
decent shout. I mean,
Depends
yeah.
what we're gonna play. That's the thing. It depends what we're gonna play. Again, we'll save that for a few weeks when Italy plays their matches. Let's move on to Inter Cremonese. There's not much to talk about here. Inter were in control, literally almost like cruise control that entire game. Cremonese were, again, abysmal. Inter looked like they could have played with their eyes closed and scored. They probably could have had even many goals. Martinez scores again. He's on fire. He's on fire, and so is Zielinski. Zielinski as well scored a nice long range strike. Not much to talk about in this game. I think the biggest talking point was it the flare or the firecracker? What did they shoot on the pitch?
It was a firecracker.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
firecracker on the pitch. To Aldero.
Who's the
This
next
shit.
Inter goalie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this shit. I saw it, and I even told my wife. My wife was next to me, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on? Like, who does this stupidity?"
Well, I mean, it's par for the course for Inter Ultras.
Oh God, it's
Remember
not even
Dida?
that.
Remember
Yeah,
Dida?
we're gonna go back
Yeah,
20
that's
years, but the point being is who does this shit? Like who throw like in the most useless game to do it as well. This guy was just either completely hammered, wasted. I don't know. Apparently he lost three
apparently,
hammered.
fingers. The
yeah,
other
he
one,
lost like 3
Yeah,
fingers
yeah.
or
yeah.
something. Wow.
So they caught him, and he's gonna go to jail. But like, it's just pure stupidity. Even the players' reactions were just looking at the ultras and saying, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I had the
they couldn't
exact.
believe it.
I couldn't believe it either. I was staring at my screen and telling my wife, I'm like, "Who does this?" Like, it's pure utter stupidity, and they're putting someone's life in danger. On top of that, someone that it's like he's an Interista at the end of the day. Or Daryl, he's like, what's going on?
He won the
What's
Scudetto with you guys.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, but it's not that. Anyways, I'm still baffled by what happened there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's unfortunately a part of, the name of the podcast is Sotto La Curva. We all, I think, love the positives of the ultra culture, but there's a lot of
Just
negatives.
especially in Italy, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this, well, all across the world, but let's say Italy is the one that's lagging behind in terms of fixing it. Unfortunately, I think this is like the biggest negative. Well, no, not the biggest. There's some pretty bad stuff. But it's one of the negatives. A lot of stupid people in those curves that blow their own fingers off. Pretty easy to catch the guy that's missing 3 fingers.
That's something like how did what do you can't go ask the stewards for help? I don't know. Anyways, let's not waste more time on this peasant.
That's the perfect description. The guy's a peasant.
Peasant.
He shouldn't be allowed. He should be banned for life. And
Oh, I'm sure he will be. And
He probably will. It sucks.
Classy responses from Inter though. Kivu coming out and calling it out and supporting Aldero and being the first to say, hey, this guy was one of us. And even beyond that, he's a person. Lautaro saying the same thing after the game. So yeah, the team responded with class, but that's a pretty classless act from an idiot in the stands.
I wonder if they get banned, if they have to play behind closed doors at home for a couple games.
Oh, maybe I'm sure they're going to be. They're going to.
There has to be something, right?
Like a locked. Yeah.
Well, Trasferta for sure. Away from home for sure, but maybe even at home, they have to play a couple games with no fans.
Here's the thing. It's not. And this is what I was seeing online. It's thing anymore. Because even the ultras were angry with the individual, so it's not an ultras thing anymore. It's not a team thing anymore. So there might be just a fine, maybe not playing behind closed doors or whatever, or maybe ultraless game. Apparently, they still have yet to decide, but because they don't have to investigate and the cops could take it over because they know who it is, might change the outcome of what's going to happen for Inter going forward. Just
maybe. As a fan, I hope they have to play behind closed doors. As a Milan fan, but it sucks for the game.
Yeah, it does. It does suck for the game, and again, pointless. Milan still to play tomorrow, so we don't know the result of that. We did break it down a little bit last week, but they have it's a must win now, or else Inter, I think, solidify to the top,
but even more distant.
Yeah, but since then they don't. Again, they look like a well-oiled machine. 11 out of 11 in the last 11, basically, or they tied one versus Napoli. Sorry, but that's about it, which is crazy.
Yeah, I just want to give, since if we're done with the games, I just want to give a quick shout out to Cagliari and that goal that Gleison scored, because that was insane.
Yeah, buddy,
it was insane. And they're playing well. They're hot. They're hot. Cagliari. You spoke about it last week.
3 wins on the trot.
Yeah. So let's actually, if you want, let's talk about Cagliari, but let's talk about them in the future. They're going to be playing next Monday. Again, it's a game where Roma is going to have a difficult opponent, an opponent that's scoring. So Roma's going to have to score themselves. So why don't you break that down, Remo?
So I'll break it down, since Joe might be a bit biased in this game. Actually, might be a bit too bitter after this week.
That's the thing. But, I'm never biased towards Roma. I'm the classic self-loathing fan.
Cagliari comes in very hot. I think this is probably the opponent that Roma doesn't want to face after this week. An opponent that'll close down if they need to, but can score whenever they have to. The biggest thing for me there is Gleison against that defensive trio for Roma. Mancini is hands full to avoid getting a yellow card. And you have interesting, if Wesley plays on the left, you're going to have Wesley versus Palestra. That's going to be a very nice 1v1. But it's going to be an interesting game. I think Roma is probably going to end Cagliari's little streak because they need that win, and they're playing at home at the Olimpico. The Olimpico is, for me, one of the best atmospheres of any game. So I think Roma takes it. Cagliari is a very tough opponent to play, and it's not the right time for Roma to play them. But I mean, in the end, they're the better team. They need to step out of it. I'm sure Gasperini's going to have the tactics to do so.
I've been to the Olimpico, I have to say. It is definitely a great atmosphere.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, when Roma plays, we can touch on what it looks like when Lazio plays.
I didn't see a Lazio game. I want to watch Roma.
Same. I watched Roma Juve there. It was exceptional.
I think you're probably not far off, Ram. I think Roma needs needs to go out and win this game. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do think the one thing that might sort of help tactically is Roma seems to do much better. You mentioned the defensive trio against physical forwards. The forwards that hurt us most are the ones that can get in behind the lines, the ones that are quick and speedy. Those are the ones that seem to harm Roma the most. I think Kiliksoy, who I love watching play. I have him in our Fanta, and I think he's everything Vlahovic. And I mean, look, he's played 3 good games, but they're 3 games in a row, and they're his first 3 games. He reminds me a lot of Vlahovic's first year at Fiorentina. He's so agile for his size, quick, very technical, can use both feet well. But I think that he matches up very well against that sort of player. I think that there's going to be some shithousery for sure. Mancini, yellow card, you put it in the books, guaranteed. So hopefully that style plays into our hands and we can, come out with a win. I would obviously still put Roma as favorite, but definitely not an easy game. So
I'll give you a really fun comparison with Kiliksoy. I don't know if you remember Bozhinov
oh
with
my God,
Lecce
Vali
back in the day.
Bozhinov, yeah.
Yeah,
Vali
short,
Bozhinov.
stocky, but
Yeah.
can have a crazy shot, good at finishing, but also very technical.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very fun comparison.
Cannon of a shot too.
Yeah. But Bozhinov
Yeah.
was a beast with Lecce back in the day.
Yeah.
Other notable games, you have Juve Lazio. I think Juve is flying high. Lazio
It
again.
depends. They have to chop off their hands against Lazio.
They have to what?
Play with their arms. They have to play with their arms
Yeah, he's
tied behind their back
talking about
the whole game.
the Pallavolo game over there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, so I don't think, and we should have pulled this. If we had a producer, we need to bring on a producer, guys. Someone else to have pulled this stat. I feel like there's been more handball penalties this year than in any other year I've been watching soccer.
Yeah.
Like
It's
seems
VAR,
like,
right? And it's
I don't know, and it's they're punishing natural positions. I get the ball is your hand is away from your body, but some of these are just
it depends.
where do
So
the
for me,
guy's
the
hand
biggest
be?
gray area one on he the arms were side, but he leans into it. That's such a gray area. That's really to the ref's discretion. For me, it was a penalty because he's really leaning into it. So even if his arm's by his side, he's leading with his arm to block the shot, and there was enough of a distance. But yeah, there's a lot of handballs. The game's quicker.
I
VAR, you
pulled
can
up
see
that stat
everything.
if you want. I pulled up that stat for you if you want.
Yeah, let's hear it. I'm curious.
Yes. So historically, Serie A has awarded more handball penalties than any Big 5 leagues that I could have told you with my eyes closed. But the highest is 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 seasons. Right now, we're on pace for 30% less than those seasons, and because the refs were instructed to be a little bit lenient. So there you go.
Well,
coming at you with the stats.
There's still what 15 games left, so we'll see.
True.
A couple more
if we average 3 a game,
like
in that game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was the handball game. Yeah,
that's the Genoa. And
in front of a whole 7 people. It's the funniest thing.
They were protesting
when Pedro runs under the curva. Like we were running, there's nobody there. Like he scores that penalty, and there's like steward. And that's the other thing. You're paying stewards for what? The stadium's empty. I don't know. It just looks so funny. Like, don't run under the curva. Like celebrate. Why would you run under the curva?
Only in Serie A.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on to Champions League. Talk about the bigger things this week in Serie A. We'll see what happens. Match day 24. But Champions League, we have a lot to talk about technically in Champions League when we're looking over everything. First, we could maybe just graze over the games that did pass. So Inter at least won. I was very happy, and it was a dominant win. They played very well. Di Marco's still higher. Lautaro again secured the win, but we missed the top 8 just by a little bit. Just not getting the results. I think in the other matches, I think versus Atletico, too complacent. We got a second goal that we let in was, that could have been a top 8 place, and even the controversy with Liverpool, which I think that's a game that we could have won. I think just maybe that Arsenal game, maybe we deserve to lose overall. They were a solid team. Ultimately, Napoli almost had our faith, Inter in the top 8 at one point, but they went up to Chelsea, and then they lost 3-2. That made them not basically qualify at all, and that collapses basically out of Europe game. And we could talk a little bit about this. Is he mentioned the eternal injuries and everything going on with the injuries, but at the end of the day, this Champions League campaign started in September. He didn't have that many injuries in September. He didn't have that many injuries. Yes, okay, they're piling up towards this end of this. Let's say in this end, it feels like usually we're done in December. It's actually at the end of January, so it's been a few months. But there's no excuse for them to be eliminated in this style of Champions League, in this league phase that we have with all the teams that they played as well. There should have been no excuse to be eliminated.
No, I think it's just underwhelming all in all. I mean, maybe it's Scudetto hangover. Maybe it's that second year itch with Conte. The injuries are definitely, and injuries are such a hard thing to talk about because you don't want to use it as a crutch and you don't want to let a team get away with it. But at the same time, the injuries are definitely there. But you touched on something super relevant. Mike, early in their Champions League run, they didn't have all these injuries, and even if we back, they weren't winning the games they should have won early on either, right? So
they lost versus Copenhagen, who had a red card. They lost, sorry, they tied. Injuries or
they
not,
drop points there.
You should be winning those games. On top of that, they have a red card. That should have been a game that they won, right? That was mismanagement again. But continue. Sorry.
Absolutely, no, you're absolutely right, and it's no. It's getting fiery. No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, look, by round, they lost to Man City in the first game. They beat Sporting, fine, 2-1. If you continue down their season in the Champions League, I mean, they took 6 goals from PSV Eindhoven. There was no injuries in October. That wasn't an injury thing, right? They drew Frankfurt in November. That wasn't injuries.
Exactly.
Right? So, you can play the injury card now, and it definitely didn't help them in the past 2 to 3 games, but you got to put yourself in a position to get through winning the games you need to win. And they didn't do that. It comes back to what I said about Roma. You can complain about luck, but that's only valid if you did what you needed to do and got unlucky. They haven't done what they needed to do. They lost to Benfica, and I believe that one was no, that one was away, I think. But yeah, they didn't win the games they should have won, and it bit them in the end. And unlucky draws for the Italian teams. And Inter gets out best with Bodo Glimt, but they've shown over the past couple of years that
You
they're
never know.
Yeah, they're not an easy team to beat, especially on the road.
I still think this is in a two-legged tie. I think
they
if
have to
Inter
pass.
lose this,
Yeah. It's not as simple as it looks. Just looking at the name, those who know Bodo Glimt is not a pushover. And then Juventus grabbing Galatasaray and Atalanta grabbing Borussia. Oof, that's tough. I mean, Juve should get past Galatasaray on paper, but that's not an easy team to beat either. You look at that squad and our listeners probably don't watch much Turkish Super League, but Osimhen, Lemina, Torreira from I don't know if you guys remember him from Fiorentina. He was,
of course.
Yeah.
great midfielder. Yeah, I mean playing in Turkey. I mean that's talk about fan atmosphere. That's a hell of a place to go play. So not an easy tie for Atalanta or Juve, unfortunately. What do you guys think in
Just
general about the odds of getting through for the Italians?
I just wanted to give a little fun stat on Antonio Conte. I'm sure it's been said ad nauseum on a bunch of other platforms, but he's had 8 Champions League campaigns, and 4 of them have resulted in group stage exits now. That's 50% out in the group stage.
Insane.
And he only won 2 knockout games, both against Celtic with Juve in 2012 and 2013. That's pretty insane.
Yeah,
For a
some-
coach, for a serial winner, it's pretty insane.
Some coaches are more geared towards, tournament competition. Others are more. Ancelotti is a coach who is an awesome manager, whether it's in the league or whether it's in tournaments, but he always elevated his teams even higher during knockout tournaments, right? Whether it was Coppa Italia, whether it was Champions League, he always knew how to manage those sort of game environments where, because there is a big difference in how you manage a game in a group stage versus just a regular league game, right? Knowing what you need and what result you need to get when you're home, what result you need to get when you're on the road, how to approach these games in different countries, versus different fan bases with refs from different countries with, styles that you're not used to. It's starting to look like Conte just isn't a tournament manager. How
Very
else can you
limited.
explain? Yeah, I mean,
he did well with Italy tournament with what he had. Think about that. What is Euro 2012? Like different tournament. Maybe he can get it in a shorter period of time, and plus known to overwork
and
his
I feel like
players,
it's,
and maybe
as a national team manager, I feel like it's almost more about how you prepare players mentally for a game versus tactically, or you know what I mean? Because there's so little time to impart your tactics or to impart specific strategies that, and that's why I'm hoping Gattuso does well in the coming games. You just need to keep them motivated. You got to call the right players and then keep them motivated. So yeah, there's good shout with the the national team, but I think it's a slightly different dynamic to a club tournament competition.
Yeah, you asked our opinion on, like, I gave you my opinion on Inter. I think Inter should make at least a quarterfinal with the draw. Personally, again, Bodo, you never know what we can get. We're playing them in the winter. They have turf. That's the biggest challenge going there and playing versus them. But I think if Real Madrid win, then we face Sporting. So if Real Madrid win on the other side, they're going to be facing Man City, and we'll be facing Sporting. So again, Sporting had a fantastic European campaign, good team. Could be a giant killer, but again, when you're looking on paper, that's an easy quarterfinal for me, and should be. And after that, whatever happens, happens, and that's my expectations from this year. If Inter can get a quarterfinal, I'm further. I'll be happy, but I don't expect us to go that much further in Europe this year. We'll see. It seems to be an all English affair this year. All the teams made.
Yeah.
What I think, how many teams are in the top 10 or top 8 are English?
I think there's like 5 in the top 8. Yeah,
It's insane.
and it's
yeah.
Money.
This is the Super League that people didn't want, right? Or was that something
Pretty
different?
much.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
it's this.
This,
But
I saw something interesting. Sorry, Remo. Then you can go back.
no, go
I saw
ahead.
something interesting on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'm never gonna call it X. I find it so weird.
Good.
So I saw something interesting on Twitter, that the English teams tend to do well in this group stage, but then fall off later. And the reason being is that, it's not as intense, where the other leagues are a little bit more intense at the beginning, and then, coming towards the end, the English league gets a little bit more intense, a lot closer. All the games are really they really matter, so they tend to maybe not perform as well in Europe. Maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't. But I think
Hopefully.
Arsenal going away with the Premier League this year. And again, I don't expect much from. It's not 2-3 seasons ago where everyone think Calcio is back. Remember that? All those
Yeah.
commercials. Calcio is back.
Hey,
When he
three
made,
teams in the semifinals.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
semifinals. It was
Milan,
3 teams in the
yeah, my
semifinals.
God, Milan, Inter.
Yeah, which was a crazy. Well, but anyways, Remo, you were going to say something before I cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, I mean, it's not a great year for Italian teams. I also agree. I think Inter should make it out, even though both not a walk in the park, especially Norway in the winter. It's Norway, right? Yeah, Norway. Jens
Yeah.
Peter Haug is going to take this game very personally. Real Milanista to the core.
Yeah.
Juve,
And what,
I feel like
7-8 months there?
I feel like Juve
Best
could
7 months
definitely
of his
make it out
life.
of this. Yeah, my God, but
I
he
think so too.
was. I think Juve can make it out of this if they continue the way they're playing now. I think they should win. It'd be interesting to see how Osimhen plays in this tie. Always interested to see Osimhen play, and it's been a while since I have. Atalanta, it's a shame. Borussia is second in the Bundesliga, but again, Atalanta is that type of team that if they start clicking, they're scary to anyone. It's very much, let's say, Atalanta is the Galatasaray in the situation, and Borussia is the Juve, where if the surprise were to happen, it's not going to be a massive shock. But Borussia is definitely the favorite there.
Yeah.
They're calling it
Again,
an attacking purist. That's the headline I saw, because two of Europe's most exciting face off.
Is Atalanta still that team? I don't know. Palladino is a lot more pragmatic than Gasperini
He
was.
is.
He's not as pragmatic as Juric, but he's still more pragmatic than Gasperini. It's not the same Atalanta that maybe everyone thinks they are. I think they'll also be a lot more solid defensively, and maybe Karnaseki is going to be the difference maker in this game too.
Yeah.
So do we all agree we don't see any Italian teams making it far? Champions League.
Inter
Based off
right now probably has the best chance.
Yeah,
But Juve is growing.
but that's
Juve is
about it,
growing,
right?
and they can surprise us.
Who does Juve play
you know,
after this? It's either Liverpool or Tottenham.
Yeah. Look, if
either one of those is probably
they're,
not.
they're,
Yeah.
they're both struggling sides. Tottenham's not doing
Yeah.
too well.
Tottenham
Neither is
is
Tottenham
doing
Liverpool.
is
very poorly in the
beatable.
league. Yeah.
Yeah, but Liverpool, you don't know. They start clicking again. Well, they have started clicking more or less, right? In the last couple games.
Yeah, they've picked it up. They've definitely picked it up. I mean, in other European competitions, Roma, the only team
Did they lose
to.
this week?
Who's this? Liverpool?
Yeah, I'm so curious. I
They
think I
lost.
saw
They
them.
lost in the last.
They
I
lost
think in the last second. Yeah.
Yeah.
To Brighton. Was it? Am I wrong?
I just remember them.
No,
Like
not to Brighton.
I don't remember.
Sorry, this is not an EPL podcast, but no, they beat Newcastle this week, or no, last
there
week.
you
So it
go.
was Man
No,
U
this
that
week.
won.
This week, yeah, they
Anyways,
beat Newcastle this week. Sorry.
Joe wanted to talk about
They lost
Roma,
to Bournemouth last week. Okay.
Joe wanted to talk.
That was a long walk,
about
Ram.
Roma.
That was a long walk.
Sorry. I got in a spiral.
No, I was just saying it. I mean, in other European competitions, Roma avoided the extra game, finishing top 8 in the Europa League, and then Bologna drawing another team from Norway. So both Inter and Bologna visiting Norway in the next couple of weeks. They're playing against Brann, who are the 24th team. So they got in right under the gun. So decent odds for Bologna to move forward there, hopefully, versus Brann. Roma already punched their ticket for the next round. And then the Conference League, I think there's only Fiorentina left,
Yeah.
who did make it, into the top 24 at least. And they're playing Jagiellonia, who's,
Bologna.
I believe they're Turkish also. No, Polish.
No.
Yeah, Polish. So Fiorentina in with a shout, despite being relegated in Italy, maybe getting into the knockout stages of the Conference League. So
It just gave me PTSD of Italy and Norway, so we haven't had a good track
Ugh.
record versus the Norwegian
you know what?
or
Yeah,
the Norwegians in this last year.
Oh,
Hopefully
okay.
2026 we can we'll write a different script.
yeah.
Bologna and Inter with the Norwegians. But last thought, maybe last question I want to ask you guys. Second season that we see this type of format in the Champions League phase done. What do you think, or what are you thinking, or what are your growing thoughts on the full league table? Joe, you want to start?
I honestly like it more than I thought I would. I'm probably a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to soccer, and I don't take to change well generally. But last week they showed us it could be. I mean, that was great for last match day of the group stage, and there's still places up for grabs. It gave us great moments, whether it's Benfica's goalie, Mourinho pushing the goalie up despite already being up 3-2 because he knows he needs the extra goal. And then, Marseille all the way across Europe being knocked out on the last day by a goal from a goalie. I think this format is starting to grow on me, and I think that it's a step in the right direction to trying to bring a little bit more money into the second and third level leagues in Europe by having them host relevant games later on into the Champions League group stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Often by this time of year, games don't mean much anymore. Teams are resting players. Mourinho's having guys pick up to get suspended and be ready for the knockout stage. and because of this format, this year at least, I think it brought us more excitement. So I was against it in the past, but I'll raise my hand and say that it made a really exciting last match day, at least. What do you guys think?
Remo?
I'm also a bit of a purist, a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to this type of stuff. I'm still not a huge fan. I do agree the game more end of the round, which is a positive, but that I have to calculate the goal differential and this and that on the last thing. It's come on, it's overcomplicated. I think I miss the group stages as they were. I mean, there used to
You
be
miss Real
exciting
Madrid
last
being
days.
I was gonna say you miss. Yeah, there was always one group though, like maybe
Yeah,
one
and it
group
was
that was
always
exciting that you
interesting.
want to
There was
look
always
out for.
yeah, and okay, listen, I do agree there are positives to this format. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all the end of the world and the end of football as we know it. But I still miss the old school one. Uh, Mostly just because it was easier to follow. You could create some reasons because you play the same team twice. That's something that I really miss from this. Whereas here, another random team every week, and some teams get from the schedule and some don't. Whereas, yeah, some teams got benefited by groups that were easier, whereas some teams had groups of death, like Napoli, several years in a row. But everyone in that group had an equal chance of getting out of there because they kept playing each other. You know what I mean? Like it was a bit more even in terms of that. Whereas here, I find it's a bit more complex and overcomplicated for nothing. More entertaining towards the end. That
Yeah, I think that's what we mentioned the last week, I think, or the last 2 weeks, and I mentioned that a lot. Is those first few games games are like everyone's still feeling it out where you're going to land. It's more exciting at the end for all teams. I think there was only two. I think Arsenal and Bayern were the only two teams really 100% safe. There was other teams that maybe mathematically it would have been almost impossible, but we saw a lot of changes in that top eight. We saw a lot of changes in that middle section and at the bottom as well, up until the last second, which I think makes it more exciting. Other than Real Madrid, after 4 games, already booking their ticket. But yes, there was that one group or two groups that maybe came down to the wire.
Yeah, there was definitely more. Like, I mean, going
Pros
into
and
last
cons.
week, you're 100% right, Mike. After last week, the only teams who were mathematically assured like a top 8 were Arsenal and Bayern. You know, so even Liverpool,
Yeah.
who qualified in third on 18, if the results go the wrong way, they've got, you know, extra matchup. I mean, look, Real is playing an extra game, and Sporting is in. You know, so it's definitely brought some surprises. Tottenham, you know, with the year they're having in a classic group stage, with a little bit of bad luck, and Tottenham is on the outside looking in. You know, whereas this format sort of makes things predictable.
Yeah,
I do
unpredictable.
dislike the fact that there's more games. It's way too much now. Like
Yeah.
there's
I was just about to say the same
8
thing.
group stage games, then plus like this extra round,
Yeah,
the
but
playoff round, then the round
this
of
is gonna come
16.
Extended
at
World
It's a
Cup.
lot. Yeah, it's a
this is
lot.
eventually gonna come at it's gonna come at the expense of domestic tournaments. I mean,
And
the Coppa
ACLs.
Italia is yeah. Everyone's that's the in thing to do now is to do your ACL. But I mean, the Coppa Italia, the FA Cup. I mean, the FA Cup has a lot of history in England, whereas most of the teams in Italy couldn't give a rat's ass about the Coppa Italia. But I think that if this format sticks around, it's probably going to come at the expense of, you know, whether explicitly or, you know, implicitly by teams just fully abandoning those tournaments. That's probably where it's going to come from. Already, I think the top teams in Italy get put in the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia.
Yep.
And even at that, they don't care enough to get eliminated. Right? Like most big Italian teams play one Coppa Italia game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's money. The issue is money. You get more money. Look at even the Super Copa now. They're going to play, they're flying across the world on a
Ugh.
weekend. Like, play 2 more games. Let's add more teams. It's always let's add more teams. Let's add more teams at the expense of the players, and it think too much. It loses its value, right? Sometimes when you have too much of
Yes.
something, it loses its value, and that special
I-
moment that you wait for is not as special.
I always used to criticize, let's say, hockey, for example. I think there's way too many games in a season. And yeah, these players get paid millions and millions and millions, but man, like already back in the day, like you heard stories of someone like Batistuta saying that it would hurt him to get out of bed because his knees and his ankles were destroyed. The amount of ACL injuries, tendon ruptures that you see in the past because of this old Inter. They haven't stopped playing. It's 2 years in a row that they've been playing nonstop. It's
Yeah,
personally,
not
I
even
understand
Bernard,
as a fan, I
you know
should
what I
be
mean?
happy my team's playing. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, as a fan, I should be happy they're playing all the time. But like, I'm 33 and going and play soccer once a week, and like I'm not in bad shape, but going and play soccer once a week, I feel it for the next 2 days. I could just imagine these players playing nonstop, year in, year. Like
Yeah, but the game evolved. The
it's a
game evolved
lot.
with that, though. But the game evolved with that. Like Batistuta didn't have, you know, the preparatori. He didn't have
Yeah,
nutritionists. He
exactly.
didn't have,
Yes,
an army of
100%.
physios, cryo chambers, and these guys. The coaches used to smoke on the bench beside them. You know what I mean? Like,
The players used to smoke. Nesta was a giant
Yeah, they used to
smoker,
smoke all the time.
you
Yeah,
know. So like,
but
I definitely understand what you're saying. It's quantity over quality sometimes. But
I think the quality is dropping. That's the issue. That when
yes,
the quality overall is dropping and players are fatigued. Like we saw it with the last Euro. I'm never going to forget. Like the everyone looked tired. You didn't get those games, and that's what I'm worried about for the World Cup. Is you expanded the World Cup. you expect games in the season. These guys are going to be exhausted. Then who's going to want to go play in the World Cup in the summer in the freaking heat in Miami? I don't know. I think we might get a drop in
Miami,
quality.
even
World Cup,
Montreal, it's gonna not Montreal, Toronto. It's gonna be a humid place. In New York, it's gonna be so humid, and they play at like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, you know what?
Anyways, I
Italy
personally,
needs that. We're gonna be well rested. There's not gonna be, not too much Champions League and Europa League being played, and Inter should wrap up the title summarily. We should have a well rested team if we make it, I guess.
that's
I don't know. I'm
maybe
very. I just want to say I'm very against like the amount of games that there are. Personally, that's one hill I'll die on.
Yeah,
I am
used to
too,
get
but
excited
the
at
teams need it. The teams need it. I mean, look, we're already feasting at the scraps table when it comes to the transfer market. Like all of Italy's running after Jean-Philippe Mateta. Like, guys, what are we doing? This is fucking it's Mateta. What the fuck, guys? Like, and Crystal Palace could just shit a guy like this away, and we have title chasers arguing over him. The guy's got busted knees, and we can't agree on who's gonna sign him. We need him. This is what it is. This is why they want to play, and it's the owners of these teams and who pushed for this, and yeah, it's unfortunately, while it's putting more money in everyone's pocket, it's also putting money in the pockets of the teams who already have money. So it's not, it's not helping as much as it should or could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should have probably let the Super League happen, at least.
That's an argument on the table that a lot of people are saying, but
yeah, we ended up there anyways.
Know.
Only now it's just England. You know what I mean?
Maybe it happens. Maybe it still comes. I don't know. But the game is changing, and sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. But I think one thing's for certain: all of us will still be here watching it, no matter what. I know I will.
Yeah,
I'll always watch the sport. My love for the sport is can't break it, and I love the sport till the day I die. Maybe the younger audiences might not like it as much, but I don't know. Biggest growing sport in North America right now. So even in Quebec here, where we're at, just to let you know.
And that's a big chunk of it. Agnelli, before he was disgraced for whatever, he said something that, and I rarely agree with much of what he says, but he wasn't wrong when he said, listen, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds today who know soccer from PlayStation and FIFA Ultimate Team, they don't want to stay home from school anymore. Like we used to, when we were in high school, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, everybody was getting their parents to call in sick, wanted to stay home, and I had to watch Roma Fulham because it's Champions League, so I got to watch Roma Fulham. Kids nowadays don't give a rat's ass about two mid teams playing on a Tuesday. They want Barcelona and Man City every week, and they're not going to tune in to Karabag and FC Almaty. It's not going to happen. So it's going with it. It's the inshitification of culture, right? Social media is inshitified, and so's football, and it all is, unfortunately, because we're catering to the attention spans of children. Unfortunately,
we're just three old men yelling at the sky right now.
Yeah, I really feel like a boomer. Aside from like my issues getting my iPad going,
an old man.
But it's true. That's what it is. I mean, it's
100%.
These kids that
I agree 100%.
They run around with Ronaldo and Messi jerseys, and then you ask them about literally any other player, and they couldn't tell you. But they're huge soccer fans.
No.
They've got all the stupidest haircuts and the flashiest shoes. But
I think that's why we started this podcast, to talk about the league that we love so much, that's slowly dying, that we'll always love, but hopefully we can maybe they reach an audience and people could enjoy the beautiful calcio and all the drama that comes with it. There's no league like it, in my opinion. The Premier League has money, it has the players, but it doesn't have the drama, it doesn't have the owners, doesn't have.
It's by far the most romantic
that can happen in Italy. It is. There's
100%.
And we saw that this week, and hopefully we'll continue to see it next week. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this show and this episode. I'm not sure how long we ran, but we had some pretty
I feel
good
like pretty long.
we did a full Asta and this, so
Yeah.
I'm definitely going straight to bed. My brain is fried. I don't know about you guys, but thank you guys for listening. If you did, appreciate it, and we'll be back next week. Next week we'll actually do a Mercato breakdown, maybe give our predictions, or not even so much predictions, but just maybe our score. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys. Any last words?
Forza Milan
Enjoy the
tomorrow.
games this weekend, guys.